My name is Lynn Carter. I'm a research space scientist, and I work with the Planetary Geodynamics group here at Goddard. I study the geology of planetary surfaces, the Earth, Moon, Mars, Venus. There's a lot of things you can learn about the Earth by studying other planets. For example, on the Earth, we have a lot of erosive processes. You know, it rains, it washes parts of the surface away. We have plate tectonics, which recycles the crust. But on other planets, those processes don't necessarily occur. So for example, when we look at the Moon, we're seeing a surface that's much older. We can use impact cratering on the Moon to sort of understand how many impacts happened, the size of the objects that were hitting each other in the early solar system. Generally, what I would do every day is a variety of things, like I might come in and do some image analysis and then do some writing about our scientific results. Sometimes I do fieldwork in Hawaii or Arizona. We take a ground-penetrating radar out and we learn more about lava flows on the Earth. One of my favorite things is to use radar remote sensing. For example, on Mars, we can use radars to sound all the way to the bottom of Mars polar caps and see all this layering within the polar caps. And on the Moon, we're using it to study impact cratering. Sometimes when an impact crater is formed, a huge sheet of melt is thrown out. This melted rock flows across the surface, but then over time, it's covered over by stuff from other impacts. But with the radar, it just blows right through all of that, and you can see this beautiful image of the melt flow coming out of the crater. Looking ahead to the future, there are so many different things that we can learn about planetary science that would be interesting. One of my favorites is Venus, actually, because it's about the same size and it's very close to the Earth in the solar system. Why has there been this divergent evolution between these two worlds that are very similar? And I think understanding that problem would be very interesting.
You're muted, Scott.
Oh no! Good and happy Friday. This is Scott Roberts from Explore Scientific, and this is the Explore Alliance program of the OpenGOTO Community. Our special guest today is Don Martin from the Braun Astronomical Society, and we're here to talk a little bit about the Global Star Party, the VBAS, Braun Astronomical Society edition. They are our official co-hosts. And it was a lot of fun to work with you, Don, on working out the schedule and all of that. And so it'll be wonderful to see a lot of your members participating. And we have some of the regulars coming on towards the end of the show to help out with some of the imaging and image processing portion. But you have some great talks coming up, so I'm excited about that. Maybe you could give us some more highlights and more talk about the club a little bit to our viewers here.
Yeah.
By the way, Mike Wiesner mentioned that he had been to the in 2017 took a tour through VBAS. I guess
Really?
was that Sky and Telescope or something that did that.
I'm not familiar with it. I'm not actually. I'm not sure who Mike Wiesner is. I saw the name, but I haven't. I
Yeah,
can't
Mike
place.
Wiesner. Mike Wiesner is a very popular astronomer, astrophotographer. He wrote books on the mighty ETX. He called it the mighty ETX, and it was a very deep and very thorough how-to guide on how to use the ETX telescope. He's also been he's a champion of dark skies, and He used to be a jet plane fighter pilot. He's got some really cool pictures of that, and you know, he's just an overall great guy. So really happy to have him watching the show and participating in the way that he does. But maybe let's run down your list of presenters and
Okay.
yeah,
I don't have the list in front of me. Give me a second here.
I can get it.
I sent it out to everybody today, so we've got I've got the list here somewhere. I just didn't print it out.
It's all right.
Did you just send it to me? Oh, okay. No, you didn't.
But I can find it.
Yeah, hang on. I sent it out to everybody so that they would have it, and now I don't have it. Yeah, here we go. 6:30. Okay, so then first of all, I'm Don Martin. I'm the president of VBAS, and I'm also the newsletter editor. And so I'm going to do a little bit of talk about who VBAS is today and what we are doing now. And then we're going to have Genevieve Crook, and she's going to talk about the history of VBAS. She said she's going to be short, so I don't know how short, but I don't know how short that is. Maybe that's 1 minute, maybe it's 10 minutes. And then Jeff Delmas. Now we have a 21-inch telescope, which is, I mean, I guess we'd call it maybe a semi-professional grade telescope. We're trying to make it into something that can be used by the local community. We've got, you know, in Huntsville, we've got the University of Alabama at Huntsville. And then we've also got a couple of junior colleges. But then we've also, if you go out a little further west, we have Muscle Shoals, which has a long history of music recording and things like that. And in that area, we've got the University of North Alabama. Yeah, right. Rolling Stones recorded out that way, and Cher, and a lot of big names did a lot of records out that way.
Yeah, Allman Brothers. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's right. And they have a university, the University of Northern Alabama, and there's one of the professor over there, the astronomy professor over there, wants to do some work with us on spectroscopy. So he's going to do some work with us at some point. So anyway, Jeff Delmas is our observatory director, and he's kind of in charge of getting that thing going and getting it up to speed. And he's going to talk about this big research, this big upgrade to it that we've got going. Mm-hmm. And then we've got some students. We have a number of obviously students in our area, young people, and we're going to have Michaela Jennings, Jordan Jennings, and Javon Jennings. They're all siblings, and they've all done science fair projects, and they're gonna speak to us for a little bit. And are we going to keep going? Should I keep going, or is that good? Are we going to just keep going through it, Scott?
Yeah, keep going through it. Sure.
Okay. And then I'll talk about some more things that we're doing now. I don't know how much we're really going to have to say about the special interest groups, but I might be able to stretch it out to 5 minutes. And then Jenna's going to come back and talk some more about our outreach programs. And one of those is the Tinsel Trail, which is something that's kind of unique to this area. I've never seen this anywhere else.
The Tinsel Trail.
That's what they call it. It's a Christmas thing we do every year for Christmas in Huntsville.
Okay.
And what they do is they set up Christmas trees, and each charity and other businesses, they pick a tree, they buy a tree, and then they decorate it. And it's sort of like a way of letting people in the area know that they exist. And so you get a little bit of marketing, I guess. And then people walk through and they look at them, and they can see, well, there's a dance studio here, and there's a business over here, and all the different community organizations have a tree. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I guess we're going to do some live imaging. And then after, I think maybe I don't know if Don Reed's going to do that, but he'll be available, I think. It looks like it's going to be a clear night. In fact, I'm kind of annoyed that it's a clear night, because now I'm not going to be able to go out and observe. But then Rod Hughes is going to talk about his observatory. Now, Rod is he's actually doesn't live in Huntsville. He lives in a town way south of here called Miller's Ferry. And Miller's Ferry is it's a Bortle 2 zone. I don't know if his house is in the Bortle 2 zone because there might be a street light a couple of blocks away from his house, but it's a very dark location. Bortle 2, if you drive 10 minutes in any direction, it's Bortle 2.
Wow.
You still have Alabama weather, but at least it's dark.
At least it's dark.
So he built an observatory, and he's going to talk about that. And it looks like he's got a really good situation. He's an astrophotographer, so he'll have some things to say about that. And then Gary Usta, he bought a telescope, a 10-inch Dob, and he started out putting digital setting, not digital. He made literally an azimuth circle for the ground board. Mm-hmm. And it had a little pointer on it, and then he went out to Harbor Freight and bought a digital inclinometer for $10 or $5 or something, and stuck it on the side of the tube. And he was literally pointing that thing at objects, finding stuff. Wow. Literally, look up the azimuth and elevation right now, and then 23 degrees, and then it goes up 23 degrees or whatever it is.
And you have to do the math for the time and everything too, right?
Yeah, well, you got to have a live, like Sky Safari will do it. It'll tell you the as and L of any object right now, and then so you have to calibrate it a little bit, but after that it should work just fine. But so that's what he started doing, and then as time went by, he added an Arduino. I think he has 2 Arduinos. And he's got some little stepper motors, and now it just kind of like it literally just got little ropes and whatever, and he just pulleys it up and down, and you could never sell one of these things, but it's a great project. It's a really great DIY. It's classic DIY. I told him he should take this up to Stellafane because this is the stuff that they love up there. This is the kind of, it's like, oh, well, we're gonna have a bowling ball and a coffee can, and we're gonna make a telescope out of that.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff they love up there.
I love it too.
So yeah, it's great. You'll love it. It's just the pictures of it are just amazing.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Don, let's talk a little bit about the history of you guys. I guess call it VBAS, right?
We call it VBAS.
VBAS, right? So anyhow, but how did it get started? It was like high school students or something.
There was a high school student. Now you've got to understand that before Warner von Braun, we were a farm community, and the big city was Decatur. Okay, and we had the Redstone Arsenal here already, which was a military base, an army base. And they were using it to store like chemical weapons after World War II and stuff like that. So there's like a ton of highly toxic chemicals buried not far away from here.
Jeez. Okay.
And and so von Braun came out here and he said this would be a great place to build the Marshall Space Flight Center. And so.
And why did he pick it? What was his? Do you know the background of that?
I think probably land was cheap and available, and they didn't want it. They didn't want it in a big city.
Sure.
They've got chemicals. They're going to be building, kerosene, large amounts of kerosene for the first stage, and so anyway, they designed the Redstone rocket. That's why it's called the Redstone rocket. So you've heard of Mercury Redstone, the Redstone portion of it.
So Redstone was actually the name of this chemical arsenal.
It's the Redstone Arsenal. It's still called the Redstone Arsenal, and actually the Marshall Space Flight Center is a portion of it. It's a certain they just drew boundaries and said this is the Marshall Space Flight Center, and so NASA got that portion of it. And so the Redstone Arsenal Marshall Space Flight Center is basically the engineering part of NASA that builds the rockets, the actual space launch vehicles.
Yes.
So Johnson handles the manned space stuff. And the part that gets, they like to say that we sent men to the moon. What we did was we sent men into low Earth orbit. And then the Johnson Space Flight Center actually took them from low Earth orbit all the way to the moon and then brought it back.
That's right.
So that's why they said, Houston, we've got a problem, because by that time Marshall was out of it. We just built the Saturn V at the first and second stages that got them up into space. And then it was the Johnson people who built the technology to take them all the way to the moon.
Right. Okay. That's very interesting.
So anyway, they built that. They built the Redstone Arsenal. They built the Redstone rocket here, and they built the Saturn V, and I guess the Saturn 1C, and they did it was the Gemini program as well. I think they used the Saturn 1C, and so all these launch vehicles were designed and built here, and they take them down to Kennedy to launch them, and then Houston gets them to the moon. Takes care of the manned portion of it is Houston.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So there's all kinds of space artifact. I mean, like space flight artifacts in the area.
Right? When you drive on the freeway to get to Huntsville, you drive right by the Space and Rocket Center, which is a museum. It's really just a museum. It's not the place where they do any design or anything. It's essentially a tourist attraction. But they've got a number of rockets. You're driving down the highway, and all of a sudden you see all these rockets standing up by the interstate. It's really kind of a neat sight.
Yeah.
Those are all mock-ups. Those aren't actual rockets, but we do have one display at the Space and Rocket Center that is an actual Saturn V. They actually found all the parts necessary, and they were able to put them together and lay it down. It's horizontal, so you don't look up at it. Right. But it's horizontal, but you can walk around underneath it and you can see this is an actual Saturn V. Because they didn't launch them all. They canceled the program before they launched them all. So this is one of the ones. I think they had two. So this was one of the ones they didn't launch.
Very interesting. Very cool.
So I was going to say then this high school student, Sammy Pruitt, contacted von Braun and said, "Hey, could you help me start an astronomy club?"
He just cold called him, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and von Braun and about 5 or 6 of his rocket scientists said, "Okay, let's do it." And they got together, and they were meeting in, I think, Wilhelm Angela's living room, or maybe it was von Braun's living room, and they came up with enough money to buy I think it was a 16-inch telescope.
Wow.
And they got the land, they got the permission to build an observatory on the Monte Sano State Park, and they I think it was 3.3 acres, and they literally, one of the problems that we have today is that they built these buildings themselves. There was no, I mean, they probably had a sketch, but it was no code, right?
Right.
Back in the 50s, it was just like they just stacked blocks together. They just had some cinder blocks and some cement, and they put up a building.
Okay.
And one of the things we have to concern ourselves with is the preservation of these buildings, because they were not built to modern codes.
Yeah.
The wiring.
They're considered historic buildings in the area?
Oh yeah. They're not officially. They're not officially. We've looked into that, but the problem is, historic places, then there's limits to what we can do to modify them or keep them up to speed, to keep them. So if we became a historical place, there would be laws which said, well, you can't add this building, you can't put a shed back here, you can't do anything to the facade. Right. We become restricted in our ability to do things. Right. And so one of the things we're trying to do now is we're trying to maybe expand the facility and put in some. The driving factor is our restrooms. Right now, you can imagine if you were to just go out into your backyard or into a forest and build a restroom, it probably wouldn't be all that great. And so we have a restroom, we have a bathroom, but it's not a place where you'd want to take your kids. Let's put it that way. But it does work. It is functional. We've got a septic tank and everything. But we're talking about, so this is one of the driving factors for our expansions, to have modern facilities. And right now when we do shows, we do them in a planetarium, which is a round building. And if you've ever tried talking to a group of people that are sitting in a circle, you point over here, well, these people can't see it. So now you've got to point to 3 different places we've got 3 projectors, but it's hard to talk in the round like that. Right. It's kind of dizzy. You got to point to 3 things. And so we want to have a rectangular meeting room where you can have one speaker, and he can point to one display, and people can see it.
Right.
So we've been talking about doing something about that. And anyway,
And how
yeah,
many
so
visitors would you guys get on a normal year, do you think?
that's a question for Jenna.
Yeah.
Uh, we do shows every Saturday night, and we have a seating capacity of maybe 100 plus.
Okay.
If we get out extra chairs, without the extra chairs, it's maybe 80. And we particularly at this time of the year, we start doing a Christmas show. You know, like every planetarium does the Christmas star. So this is
Yeah.
our time to do the Christmas star, and we will get capacity crowds. We'll get 80 to 100, 110, maybe more, and for maybe 4 or 5 weeks before Christmas. So we'll get, and then the rest of the year, we get anywhere from 20 to 60. Sometimes we'll get 80. We have a campground next door, so we get a lot of the people from the campground that walk over, and they just
Yeah, they got to be going, what's this? Right. So,
yeah. What else is there to do at a campground at night, right?
right.
You can poke the fire for only so long, and then you want to see a show.
That's true. That's very
So they walk over and they do our show, and then there's members that come up, and then other people know about us. They want to come up for the night.
true.
So members or just visitors.
Excellent.
So we get I think it's probably in the neighborhood of thousands of people in the course of a year.
Oh, that's great.
You know, if you're getting 50 people times 50 weeks.
Right. Okay. So, well, I hope that that our global star party tonight gets you at least the goal will be to try to get your annual audience in one show. In one show.
That'll work.
We'll see
That'll
what
work.
we do here. Often we get somewhere between, oh, I don't know, we've gotten somewhere between 3,000 and
Is that right?
8,000 views of these global star parties, and they're watched all over the world.
Yeah.
So, how about people that would like to join the Von Braun Astronomical Society? What do you accept members from outside the region? I mean,
We
kind of
do.
cool to
And
belong to it.
in fact, we've got one guy. I guess he lived here for a while and he worked here, and then he retired and he went back to his hometown of Estherville, Iowa, and he's still a member. And he's been attending our meetings because we've been streaming our meetings. Normally we meet up on the mountain and at the planetarium, and you have to be there. But since this COVID shutdown, we've been doing Zoom meetings. So all our presentations, we've been having our monthly meetings. They've all been streamed on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And our intention is to continue doing this because we've got people that are coming in, like I say, Estherville, Iowa. We have one guy who moved back to Estherville, Iowa to be with his family, which is kind of funny because that's where my grandmother used to live.
Okay.
And I've got cousins up there, and he knew my cousins, and it was
wow.
like the craziest thing.
It's
This
a
little
small,
town in
small planet.
northwestern Iowa, and all of a sudden, we've got a connection there.
Sure.
So I don't know how that happened, but it happened. So he's been visiting. He's been coming to our meetings. He's been doing the SIGs. He's been he's been an active member. So we're gonna keep that. Plus, we also have people out in Decatur and Athens and further away that they want to be a member, and occasionally they come into the shows or a meeting or something like that. But they can't see it every week. They can't do it every month. It's it's an hour and a half drive in and an hour and a half drive back. But if we start streaming these shows, they'll be able to be more active members.
Absolutely.
And so that's what we're planning to do here. We've got cameras that we're gonna install, and we've got enough technical people that we can make this happen.
That's
so
awesome. That's
so
awesome.
we're gonna keep streaming it. So hopefully we'll be able to start picking up members around the country or people who come here and visit and they want to
around the world. Why not? Why not?
Around the world, right? Absolutely.
We've done something similar with our club meetings since March or April. We've done Zoom meetings with our club meetings, and we've also joined forces with another astronomy club. So we're in the Fredericksburg, Virginia area, but to the south of us is the Richmond Astronomical Society that we've had joint meetings with, and with that club also. So actually David Levy gave a talk couple 3 weeks ago, I guess it was, and to the joint meeting between the Richmond Astronomical Society and the Rappahannock Astronomy Club. So that's the kind of things
Yeah.
we've been trying. I know when I was president of the club, I was trying to get all of our clubs to support each other. We do have a Virginia Society of Astronomical Clubs or something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but we do have a Virginia group of all the clubs in the state. But if we can get clubs to help each other with membership and have multiple memberships basically between different clubs, then you can grow your members that way also.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah, absolutely.
all of you guys out on chat, okay, when you watch, if you come and watch the Global Star Party tonight, 7 o'clock, one of the things I would ask you to do is to try to help support this club, the Von Braun Astronomical Society. So when you're watching this, try to share share it with your friends. If you belong to other groups, other clubs, stuff like that, share this show. Because we are trying to. This is an outreach effort, and we are trying to, bring, shine a light on this awesome historic organization. So I think it's going to be very cool. We will have other clubs that will be also co-hosting the Global Star Party. Vivian White has agreed to, from the Night Sky Network, has agreed to do one of these co-hosted shows, and just talked to Adam Block, astrophotographer Adam Block, and talked to him about the concept, and so he's interested as well. So, and I also talked to the Austin Astronomical Society, we will, they are. I think they may be on board with this as well. But the idea is to have each club kind of support each other. So. Well, thank you so much. I'll see you in just a couple hours from now. So, Dawn, and I'm excited to get this next Global Star Party underway.
All right, sounds good.
Take care. Take care, Dawn.
All right, you too.
Yep. All right, so let's go over to Tyler, and
Yay.
yeah, and so
Should I drop off, Scott?
you can hang in there if you'd like.
Okay.
No problem. Yeah, if you want to hang around, just feel free. That's great. But Tyler, you are you were on the forum, the OpenGOTO Community forum recently, and looking through all the astrophotographs that have been submitted. Yet it looks like some of them could be candidates for the astrophotography contest. What do you think?
All of them can be. To be honest, they're using our equipment. They fall within the guidelines of the rules, so I don't see why they don't or can't be part of that the contest here. And I'm going to do a screen share here.
Okay.
Get kind of see everything that's going on. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. So I gotta
Yep.
you have to bear with me because I'm working from dadgummit. Okay. There we go. So that looks like a Williams Optics on a Exos 100 103. So that's a big scope sitting on that wonderful mount.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
How are they
that's a
making
pretty.
it stick sideways to the floor?
I don't know. It's Houdini.
Okay.
Houdini magic.
It's one of those haunted houses.
So you got a filter. So he's using an LP filter. So that's light pollution.
Yeah.
He photoshopped it and then processed it through PixInsight with a DSLR. And he got a great image of the east. I believe that one's the east. No, that's the western veil. It's one of the veils.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit of the Pickering triangle at the top.
Can you expand those images or?
Maybe. How's that?
There you go. Way better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's got a good shot. This is some of the Pickering, some of the O3s and the HAs.
Yeah.
Within that image. And then you got Andromeda's Galaxy from Mr. Vince White.
Mm-hmm.
He used 800 at 13-second lights. That's a lot. That's a lot. But he shot it through an awful Bortle 9 scale. You know,
Very
that's To have the color in the star here at the top, that's pretty impressive with Bortle 9.
Yeah.
Looks like it was, well, I don't know if it was shot with a Newtonian because you have some of the Newtonian characteristics in some of the brighter stars. But he used a Exos 2. Yep, it was with the 208 Newtonian with a DSLR.
Those little diffraction spikes coming off.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you got the Triangular Galaxy.
Yeah.
At 53 at 3 minute subs with the light pollution filter. Didn't really specify what he shot with.
Tyler, yesterday we had someone mention that it was actually Sean Nielsen, I think, who was talking about. I asked him what he liked to work on, and he said he liked to work on nebula, okay, in particular. And I said, how about galaxies? And he said, well, you know, it was like galaxies were a little boring or something. And I've asked other deep sky astrophotographers the same question, and I kind of get the similar response, you know, that it's far more interesting to work on nebula or something large like the Andromeda Galaxy, which has all these contrast ranges and stuff like that. But why do you think that is it just less of a challenge, or
Well,
or is it harder, or I don't know.
It depends. I mean, I believe Sean uses one-shot color camera.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure if he has a monochrome camera. I mean, the longer you take of an image, we'll say with monochrome, the more detail you can bring out as far as HA. To me, I need to get used to using a monochrome camera. Yes, it takes more time to do, but the more detail you get out with a set image with the monochrome camera.
Yeah.
Shot color is quick. Processing, or not the processing, but the integration time's a lot quicker.
Okay.
But I can see Sean's point. There's more nebulosity to gather compared to galaxies. But if you look at, said Gary Palmer's image, he does kind of the same thing. He just takes repeated stacks of the Andromeda Galaxy to bring out more of the dark trail within M31 on Andromeda Galaxy.
Yeah.
I think the biggest reason might be that within our galaxy, the nebulosity spans a much wider field, so it's easier to image with a wider, you know, shorter focal length. So it's easier to get those types of objects as it is. Most galaxies are pretty small, medium to small. You know, Andromeda is the largest galaxy. It's the closest one to us, and it spreads about, what, 3 degrees or so?
About 3.5 degrees.
Yeah, most galaxies, if you want to see any detail, are less than half a degree or less than the size of the moon. So you have to have longer focal length. You know, most nebulosity that people shoot, at least the most popular ones, are very wide in the sky. So I think that's a big part of the reason people do nebulosity versus galaxies, because they're much larger objects in the sky.
I
The
see.
exposure times are similar, but the guiding and everything else, the plate scale and all this other stuff, is much easier to image.
I like a little bit of both. I like seeing the different colorations in the stars and galaxies, because how long does it take for us to perceive the color in Andromeda? Who knows this answer? I can't remember what the answer is. Or for the photon to get from there to here.
It's 2.5 million.
Yeah, it's 2.5 million.
2.5 million years. So there could be a new star that popped up. Who knows? That you didn't see before. But I mean, you're looking very, very hard and pixel peeping the heck out of that to look at it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being weird, but I like shooting all of it. It doesn't bother me. I don't have a personal preference. As long as I can produce an actual good Gary Palmer image, I'm happy with either or.
Right.
But some of these images are all shot with DSLRs, and
that's a nice one.
It's a good North American nebula.
Who did that shot?
That one was
Max S on
Max. At a Bortle 8 scale.
Wow.
So that's a lot of definition with a HA mounted camera for DSLR. And I mean, he basically got that image with a $250 camera with a lens, 500 millimeter focal length.
Yeah.
So it's all possible with just a DSLR.
Right.
You got to put the time in, and that's where everybody thinks, as Kent calls it, a hole-in-one machine, and this is not a hole-in-one hobby. It would get very boring really quick.
Really quick. That's right.
Really, really
Well,
quick.
think about any hobbies. Think about any hobbies that people have. Working on cars, you know,
You got to learn that stuff.
if you work on cars, if you learn any kind of technology, you're going to get into the details. You're not going to just, you know, everybody for computers, if you're into computers, you're not just going to buy one and turn it on and say, look, I'm an expert at computer hacking or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
the
know,
whole
I wouldn't
point-
say that out loud.
the
You
whole
download a hacking tool and now you're an expert hacker, right? If that's all it takes.
Yeah, the whole point is to put your brain in gear and do something.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
let your brain turn to mush.
It's kind of like with Jerry and the mentorship training. I mean, after the meeting, my brain's mush. But during the fact, it's like all wheels are turning, everything's trying to focus on one thing. But then, I mean, the whole point of Jerry's mentorship training is to get people to understand how this thing works, how to get customers to understand how this thing works, so they can be more adept on fixing said problems if they're having said problems. And I know Jerry's fixing to talk about that here in a minute. And today's training was very, very educational.
Well, we want the big wheels to turn instead of just the training wheels.
Well, the training wheels turn the big wheels.
Well, that's great. So, all right. Well, let's go over to Jerry. Jerry's program is, the first install of the, it's introduction to personal discovery, and I think that was he went through it with the customer service team, and I think it's a fundamental thing to know and understand. So here we go.
So one of the things that I'm developing it's for internal right now to Explore Scientific to our customer service team, but it's designed to be rolled out to, I'll just scroll up to the top to show you what the name of it is. It's called, it's specific, right? The title's specific to PMCA Go-To Mount Control System, Customer and Dealer Training, but it starts from square one. Okay, it's designed to get people up to speed on our equipment is what it's designed for. And we call it the mentor program also. But the mentor program is going to be much more than this. This is just an introduction to get beginners off of square one. We did an introduction yesterday. We talked about what it was going to be about a little bit. But so to start out this series of programs, they're going to be like 20 to 30 minute lessons that start from square one for beginners to understand what they need to get into, or to get them familiar with what they're going to get into once they get into this hobby, regardless if they're interested in doing visual astronomy or astrophotography. Some people want to jump right into learning astrophotography as a beginner, which is a totally different thing than learning the sky as a traditional training has been, where you go out with a pair of binoculars and you learn the sky and all the constellations. It's a lot different than that, depending on what your goal is. So my goal here with these little sessions that we're going to have is to talk about the basics, talk about the sky. So the first thing I want to talk about is why you want to get into this hobby. All right, what fascinates people about this hobby? And to me, it's personal discovery. Scott's talked about this probably most of his career, but we've talked about it a lot, about why people get into astronomy and the hobby, and what it's more of a lifestyle than just a hobby too. So But the exciting thing about it is personal discovery, and there's ancillary things that go on with it. You know, the space program is what the genesis of my interest in space was
Mm-hmm.
during the 60s, the space program, and then everything involved with the space program. Why are we going to space? What is in space? And then you start asking questions. Well, what else is there to discover out there?
Right.
And I talk about personal discovery. You know, we have technology today that's amazing. Space technology, satellites, space probes, all the probes we send out, the NASA sends out into the solar system, and the space telescopes, and huge ground-based telescopes are doing a lot of discovery, first-time discovery. You know, like Magellan did. You know, like Columbus when he came to this continent. This is initial discovery. Now, I separate that from personal discovery. You know, the first time you discover something, you hear about it, say, "Oh, I want to see that for myself."
Right.
When you get that thing in your mind that you want to see something for yourself, that you want to prove it to yourself that it's real, that's what personal discovery is about. And it can be about anything. But in the astronomy hobby, it's about, you know, you hear people say, "Well, we're looking at these exoplanets now. Look at these, we're discovering exoplanets." And you're wondering, well, yeah, they can make up stuff and I see their data, but is it real? Can I see it for myself?
Yeah.
You know, is Saturn really got rings? You know, I see these pictures, they could be,
Yeah. To
you know,
experience something with your own senses, is
right.
really
Saturn's rings,
huge impact on someone.
yeah, yeah, Saturn's rings is a big uh, source of discovery for people at our generation. I know even today people are amazed when they see Saturn the first time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it really does have rings. It's real. This is a real thing, you know. It's like, so that's what's nice about personal discovery. It's just as exciting. I think it's just as exciting as discovering something that the first human maybe has seen. You
Well,
know, just because you're not the first human to see something doesn't mean it's not as exciting,
that's
because
true.
it can be.
I asked Carolyn Shoemaker one time what it felt like to discover, because she had discovered so many comets, and so many asteroids or minor planets and all these things, huge string of discoveries. Gene Mueller, the same, over 100 astronomical discoveries. I said, what is that like? What does that feel like? And Carolyn told me, she said, you remember the first time that you saw the rings of Saturn? I said, yeah, I almost peed my pants. I was so excited, because it looked so sci-fi. It almost looked too real, like almost too real. Like there was someone holding a slide or something
Yeah,
by the eyepiece. And a lot of people say that,
yeah.
but it is that thrill, that first time, that it's just this shot of adrenaline that runs through you, and you know that you're seeing it. You're seeing something. Maybe it's been observed a million times before or a billion times before, but when you see it for yourself for the first time, that is a discovery for you.
Yeah, I think a big part of that too is the effort you put in to find it
Yeah,
and to use a tool that allows you to see it.
right.
That's there's you're rewarded for that effort, and some people are so um, keen on getting things now, the instant gratification, that it takes all the I think it takes all the spark and all the interest out of the project. If you say, I want to see Saturn now, you can practically go on the internet and find almost anything
Yeah,
today, right, to look at.
true.
It takes no effort to find something to look at, a planet or anything in the astronomical universe. What we know about today, you can find it on the internet. Why not just spend your day on a computer looking at pictures on the internet? It's not the same at all. That's not the point of it. That's absolutely not the point of astronomy in the hobby. So that's what I always think about when people start complaining about the amount of work it takes to do things in the hobby.
Yep.
The hobby is about doing the work. It's not about the end goal. It's a journey. So that's something that's a philosophy that I have. Now, some people might come into the hobby with a different philosophy that's not quite that rigorous, which is fine. They don't have the time to spend under the sky typically. But again, like you've talked about before, Scott, there's other benefits to being out under the sky
Yeah.
than just searching for an object that's a kind of a pain in the butt to do to learn the equipment. Sometimes it could be frustrating, but
Sometimes it can be
that's not the
frustrating.
whole story.
Yeah.
The rest of that story, and everyone here that's an amateur astronomer that has experienced being out under the Milky Way, and seeing a bolide streak across the sky, and you're actively exploring. You're out there with your telescope, and this is real exploration at this point.
And it's meditative, and it's peaceful, and it's quiet.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
it's a way to, it's like a cup of tea for your soul. You just calm down, and just everything stops,
that's
and
right.
you're just in the moment for the time you're out there.
Yeah.
And it's just a really peaceful. I find it to be very peaceful and very quieting.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you
Yep.
experience what athletes experience and musicians experience. You experience flow.
Yeah.
And this is really good for you physically, mentally, almost in every respect. You can be having, think that you have the worst problem going on in the world. And if you can get out under the stars, breathe that night air, and contemplate, the scale of things and the distance of things, and calm down. Okay.
Yeah, you disconnect from the local space,
and you
and
reframe all that stuff. You realize that, gosh, I'm on this little pale blue dot, going whatever 825,000 kilometers an hour through our galaxy arm, 60,000 miles per hour around the sun, 1.5 million miles per hour to the next galaxy. We're flying through space, through a new part of space we've never been to before, all the time on this little planet, so, and you get to experience that. And it's humbling.
yeah, right,
It's
exactly.
humbling.
So that's what the hobby. I think that's what the hobby is really about, is connecting with the universe and personal discovery. And there's lots of different ways to get connected to the universe, and it's through, like for me, it was through the space program in the 1960s is when I started thinking about this stuff. Other people may see today SpaceX, Virgin Galactic, provide a lot. That's
Is that
not
your
my
dog?
dog this time.
Did your dog get
Yeah,
hoarse voice?
no.
Michael Whitaker says, "I love the peacefulness."
That's my dog, Scott. I'll take care of it.
Don't do it in or something.
No.
Michael
So
Whitaker says, "I love the peacefulness of it all. When I'm observing and looking into the eyepiece, you hear nothing."
that's right.
Norm Hughes talks about sharing his astrophotography. He says, "I love the idea that I have so many friends who see my photos who would otherwise not see, and to hear them comment about them always encourages me to keep trying to get better."
Yep. Yep. They always try to get better. That's the whole key to the hobby, is that it's a journey, and you're trying to do what you like to do, and you have internal goal to get better. You just want to get better. It just drives you as a passion. That's what it becomes, as a passion. For me, it became a passion. Astrophotography became a passion, and it got to be to the point where I wrote 2 books. I mean, it's pretty crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but it just, those opportunities came about for me, and that's how it did for me. But it's funny, because when I started the hobby back when I was a early teen, or before that actually, and up through the early 2000s, I was a loner. I never joined a club. I was a solitary observer underneath the sky with my telescopes. And I in 1987, I bought a Meade 10-inch Schmidt Cassegrain LX5 from Scott, probably. I don't know. He was probably there when I bought that.
I was there when they introduced it. Yeah.
And so I was there by myself at the end of my driveway looking at the sky, and I'd have neighbors walk by and I'd show them stuff, and my kids would come out, you know. But
Yeah.
I was pretty much on my own until actually until about 2009 when I
Oh, wow.
joined the first my local astronomy club.
Yeah.
So that's, and I'd missed a lot by not joining the club early on. You know, there's a lot of stuff. So a lot of people get into the hobby by themselves, but today I would suggest trying to connect to people. And the internet makes it so much easier to connect to people that are doing this.
Yeah, and you can
Um,
join the clubs that you want to join. I mean,
yeah.
at least for the clubs that are open to it, you know, the von Braun Astronomical Society definitely would be open to this, you know.
Yeah,
E-
so that's the biggest thing is join a club, and
yeah,
that may be your first contact with astronomy hobby.
yeah.
Um,
And you want to be in with a club that enjoys doing outreach, enjoys working with beginners, you know. So there is the occasional club where you know, you've got a group of highly advanced, you know, uh, uh, people that are somewhat intolerant of beginners, and that's very intimidating to a beginner, you know.
mhm.
So you know, and that's so, you know, but if you're running into something like that, you just need to switch, and it's very easy to switch and still participate in a lot of ways, you know. So, and there's enough big events that will be going on later when we can do this again, where you're doing in-person events. Explorer Alliance runs some now, but all the clubs run some sort of program, and they're fun to travel to. You're going to make a lot of new friends when you do, and
Yeah, look, see if there's star
and you're going to
parties
learn
in
a
your
lot.
local club. Your local club's going to have star parties to go to. That's the
Yeah,
biggest thing to try out, and you can see what people use. That's the best way to learn quickly what kind of equipment is available and to see what it actually looks like and to be able to look through it and look through these telescopes and see what you like, see what kind of objects you're interested in.
right.
Um,
And until the day that we can, you know, meet in person, you know, many clubs like the von Braun Astronomical Society are doing online meetings. They're keeping their audience engaged, and that's I think that's really important. And Don, I think the club intends to continue doing online
Streaming.
streaming even
Yeah.
after COVID lifts. So
Absolutely, because you know, we're the biggest astronomy club in the area.
yeah,
We have members in Nashville and Birmingham, and then out at Muscle Shoals, and then out west. And then, like I was saying, Rod Hughes lives down in Miller's Ferry, which is about a 3-hour drive. So we've got people all over the area that you know, maybe they lived here and then they retired and they went back home or something like that. And they want to stay connected. So it really allows us to extend our reach and really provide more value to our members.
yeah.
Plus, people who just don't want to, you know, they don't want to drive up. You know, we're kind of a
You're an hour, 2 hour out, you know, then it's
oh
nice
yeah.
to,
But
but
even if it's a 20-minute drive, you know, it's 20 minutes up, 20 minutes down, when you can just sit down in front of your computer and flip it on, and there you go.
right.
So we're not sure if we're going to monetize that or how we're going to do that, but we've got to keep the outreach going because it just seems like it's a really good service to provide to people. It seems to
Right,
really
That's
connect
right.
with people.
It,
That's
it
right.
does cost something though to do it. You know, you have to have, you know, you have to have some broadcasting software. You have to, you know, we simulcast, so I pay for a simulcasting service. You know, these kinds of things. So, uh, but it does make sense to
Congratulations, you guys. Come
get
on.
together.
Yep.
That might have been
That was
Michaela's
James Jennings.
grandfather or something like that. And he might be using the wrong link.
I see.
So one of the things that I wanted to talk about also to end this segment is there's a wide range of observing equipment that you can get. Once you, I always coach people to do a do an introduction to astronomy, basically, where you learn about all the different types of objects. And that's what my training going to be here. Well, these little segments are going to talk about all the different types of objects that are available to observe and the different types of telescopes that you might be interested in, depending on what your favorite object might be. A lot of people have, very specific tastes when it comes to astronomical objects. Some people have two or three favorites. Like I have I'm mostly a planetary guy, lunar planetary guy. But I do dabble in some faint deep sky objects, but I'm not an expert by any means in terms of imaging these deep sky objects. I I do a lot of it. To tell you the truth, I do a lot of deep sky stuff just to test equipment out
Yeah.
and to test performance. It's not really that I'm not collecting images of all the great deep sky objects there are to photograph. The Messier, the 109 objects that are in the Messier catalog, for example. Um,
Hmm.
I'm more into the science side of it too. That's the other thing. So people have very specific tastes when it comes to observing programs, and they'll soon learn after a year or two of observing with whatever general purpose instrument that they have to specialize and buy very specific equipment to do what they want to do. So you can look forward to that kind of progress when you get into this hobby.
Yeah.
Um, I think one last thing is that amateurs. I don't like to use the word amateur astronomer. I do it every so often, pretty often. I like to call all of us are just astronomers. Astronomers like, but non-professional astronomers um, are very good at overcoming issues and problems and developing technology to solve very specific small telescope problems.
Hmm.
We don't have the budgets that large telescope users have, and I'm even talking up, down to the 1 meter size. 1 meter telescopes with all the equipment and infrastructure and everything could be easily $1 million worth of equipment.
Sure.
And but we're talking about equipment that's less than $20,000. Now, $20,000 is a lot of money for individuals to buy on astronomy equipment. But even down, to get into the hobby, to do astrophotography, you can get into it as little as $1,000. I think you could probably start doing it with things that you already have, along with some equipment purchases. But this is the kind of thing that small telescope users have overcome issues to do quality work. It's just amazing what we do today. You know, take 20 years ago, somebody took a simple webcam, a really cheap, low quality webcam,
Yeah.
and turned it into a high resolution planetary imager.
Yeah. That was amazing to watch.
That was amazing, and then developed the software imaging processing to do that.
Yeah.
That's really innovative
Yeah.
technology.
But leave it to amateurs. I like to call them amateur astronomers because
Well, amateur means you love the hobby for it
love
is.
it,
You love
right?
it. That's right.
Right. So I don't think there's any shame in being called amateur.
Now,
There's
I think the connotation,
condescending things, like where somebody who's really good at something, like if you're great at basketball or something like that, and they see you tripping over yourself, and they'll say, "Oh, he's just what an amateur," So
yeah, so it's a
it's a
connotation
little
thing. I think that,
condescending, but actually, it is an exalted term, and it is amateur astronomers that they're undaunted. I've said it many times. You tell an amateur astronomer that, oh well, that's to get this kind of data is beyond what you can do. You can't do that. You know what? They'll find a way to do it. They
yeah,
will
that's
find a
right.
way.
They'll take that as a challenge. And that's a good part of the hobby, is the
That's
challenge of the
right.
hobby.
That's right. Yeah.
So
What Davies is pointing out,
yeah,
the Olympics were all amateur, right? That's right.
right, right.
Some of the greatest athletes in the world.
Well, that's the thing. Just because you're an amateur doesn't mean you don't do professional work, because very often you do professional work as an amateur.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And actually, you do work that professionals don't even get to do.
They don't. That's true. If a professional poured as much time into an image than an amateur does, if they turn those big telescopes over to, some deep part of the sky and image for 100 hours, well, first off, they wouldn't get that kind of time on a professional telescope, and then to spend months image processing it, uh, they don't do that. They're there to get data. Um, so it's
That's something interesting to talk to Adam Block about, because he's one of the few people that has access to a professional telescope to do deep sky images like he does.
that's right. That's right. Well, when we get him on to co-hosting the Global Star Party, we can bend his ear. So it'll be really
So
cool.
that's the
Okay.
introduction to
Well,
this
that's a
personal
great
discovery and
introduction.
what the astronomy hobby can do.
Yeah. Great introduction, Jerry. And Don, thank you so much for coming on and giving us a preview
No
of
problem.
tonight's attractions. And
Are we gonna kind of redo that kind of a discussion before I do my thing, or is that gonna be more or less what my thing is? Because I've got some notes here, but I don't have to use them. If we just want to talk generally, that's fine.
yeah, when we start the Global Star Party, I'll introduce you. You should probably just give a quick overview of what's going to happen, and then make the introductions. So it'll come easy and natural to you. So anyhow,
Oh, I'm sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I love this stuff. I'm not worried about it at all.
yeah, me either. So the main point is to have a good time. So
Yep. Yeah.
which we will. So
All right.
well, I think that wraps up our program for tonight. I'm going to get some dinner, take a little break, and then we're going to be back on in about an hour and a half to collect the people who log on early, and then you guys will see Talking Heads at 7 p.m. Central. Okay, so
All right.
tune
About an
in.
hour and a half.
What's that?
2 hours from now is when we officially start.
That's right. That's right. And so you're going to want to, if you're watching the show, some of you from the Von Braun Astronomical Society are watching it right now. This is an opportunity to really share what's happening tonight with the Global Star Party, with all your friends and social media and all the rest of it, to help as an outreach type of effort. So we want more people exposed to astronomy. So anyhow, thanks very much, Don, Jerry, Tyler. I don't know if you're still there, but we will talk to you in a very short time.
And Scott, you're recording this, right?
I did record this. Yep.
Okay, and you'll record the regular meeting, and it'll be on your YouTube channel. Is that right?
Well, it automatically records to YouTube channel. It's going to be it'll be a permanent recording on your Facebook page. So yeah, you can certainly see it on the Von Braun Astronomical Society Facebook page. If you haven't already found that page, you need to go there and like it. And but if you're someone that wants to be on YouTube or any of the other channels that we simulcast to, which is Twitch and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, you can go to explorescientific.com/live and reach all of those channels. And again, we'll see you real quickly here. So take care and hope you have clear skies tonight.
I'll see you at 6:30.
Yes, sir.
Hi guys, this is Tyler, customer service rep with Explorer Scientific. And today I'm here to announce that the Explorer Alliance is excited to be hosting the first astrophotography contest to recognize the excellent work of the images of our members' ranks. For this initial contest, we are looking for the best of the best in 7 imaging categories, from deep space objects to planetary, lunar, solar, wide field, time-lapse, and terrestrial. Prizes will be awarded in each category. First place winner will receive a $200 Explorer Scientific gift card, an upgrade in their Explorer Alliance membership, and a 24 by 36 mounted print for their winning image. Second place winners will receive a $150 Explorer Scientific gift card, an upgrade to their Explorer Alliance membership, and an 18 by 24 mounted print for their winning image. And third place will receive a $100 Explorer Scientific gift card, an upgrade to their Explorer Alliance membership, and 11 by 17 print of their winning image. Best in Show will be selected from the first place winners in each of the 7 categories. The Best of Show will receive a 24 by 44 mounted print of their winning image in place of the 36 by 24 first place prize. Entries are being accepted through 6 a.m. Central Standard Time to December 24th of 2020. Now, before each entry, please be aware of the following rules and requirements. Each entrant must be an Explorer Alliance member. If you are not an Explorer Alliance member, it is a free program, and we will provide you a link in the below in the description so you can sign up. At least one piece of Explorer Scientific equipment, telescope or mount, must be used in the capture of the submitted image. Entrants must identify equipment and imaging data in the appropriate sections on the form below. Each entry must be the original work of the entrant. By entering, you are stating that the image is your property and the work that you originally have. Although the contestant entry period is through December 24th, 2020, images outside the taken contestant time periods are eligible for entry. Entrants must read and agree to abide by the rules and photo release at the time of submission. These are included on the form below. Entrants may enter more than one photo into the contest. Again, this is Tyler, our customer service rep, along with Explorer Alliance. We really hope to see your astrophotography images, and we can't wait to see what you can produce. Again, this is Tyler. Clear skies and keep looking up.